Hello, teacher. I hope you're fine. In this time, I have the opportunity to explain you the method that you gave me 2 weeks ago. The method is communitive language teaching. But what is community language teaching? These methods means different things to different teachers. To some teachers means to communitive with the student in a target language. But in other case, to some other teacher, these methods mean to communicate with the student orally. But what is exactly the means of this method? In this case, the most important is to communicate in a target language orally, as I told you before. So, but what is the goal of the teacher in this time? Let me tell you that the goal is to teach a student to communicate in a target language. Of course, the student learn before everything, all the skills for it communicate. But also, what is the role the teacher and the student? So the role of the teacher is to give them students to all the tools for practicing, for be ready in some activities. But what is the role of the student? The role of the student is to have all the activities ready when the teacher tells about that. But of course, that in this method there are some characteristics that you need to be that the teacher need to give the student for learning as soon as possible. For example, there are some games and there are some role plays, of course, according to the topic that they are studying. But if the teacher use different kind of activities, it will be better for the student learning. So, but what is the nature of student-teacher interaction, and what is the nature of student interaction? The student-teacher interaction is very simple because the teacher it's continue with the activity in teach the class, but it is not all the class that the teacher works with the student, because the most important is the student work with the student, because they learn from the other students too. And they are continue with the conversations, they are continue with the games, they are continue with activities that the teacher explained. But how is the feeling? How is the feeling in this case? Because sometimes the student think that they are not learning. They are not learning either. But that is not true, because they learn in each class. According to the studies, the student learn 5 words every day, and sometimes they learn more. Because when the student work with the other students, they learn, as I told you, and sometimes they feel motivated because they sometimes see that the other classmates are learning quickly. So that's for the reason they feel motivated. Okay, I want to be like my classmate. I'm going to work hard for this. I'm going to study more for my test because I want to get a good grade. But it would depend, and the teacher also need to motivate the student, not only to teach. Okay, this is the class. You are going to give me some exercise, but no, come on, that is not in this method, because the most important is to communicate with a student in a target language, as I told you in previously. But also, what areas and what skills the student emphasize, or what is the skills that emphasize in this method? Language functions may be emphasized over forms. because the student learning about coherence and cohesion. It means the student learn with different methods, but some they need to be focused more. And the skills that the students learn or the student develop at the beginning, they develop all of the skills: listening, speaking, writing, and listening. But when they are learning, they focusing in some communications. For example, when they are going to have interaction with their classmate, they work with listening and speaking at the same time. And finally, let me tell you that there are some techniques that help a teacher when they are teaching English. For example, they need to use authentic materials, also scrambled sentences, and language games about the topic. Of course, pictures and roleplay that is more important in this method because the student communicate with everything during the classroom, and of course the atmosphere is will be better for learning. So that's my participation in this method. Thank you for listening to me.